weekend trip to their favorite seafood restaurant, the curious couple noticed that a lot of the fish were from Alaska. They have heard about all of the sights up north, from glaciers, deep fjords, abundant wildlife, including everything from whales to fox to bear. Here is the story of the curious couple's Alaskan adventure. Next Saturday, the curious couple hopped a plane to Anchorage, Alaska. After arriving, the curious couple hopped the train to Fairbanks. North of Tuctina, there are no roads, and the residents of this area rely upon the train to get to and from their homes, which are built off of the railroad tracks. The train brings food, mail, and other supplies. The government encouraged people to move to Alaska by granting free land through the homestead program. The homesteaders were rugged individualists, and this culture permeates the culture of Alaska. All the rivers in this area were gray and green because of the glacial silt dissolved in the water. The Russians came to Alaska in 1741 and exploited the sea otters for their furs and treated the native Alaskans brutally. When the Russians were defeated in the Crimean War, they sold Alaska to the United States in 1867 for $7.6 million. Historical Russian influence is found all the way from San Francisco up the coast to Alaska. In 1901, an entrepreneur, E.T. Barnett, started a trading post on the south bank of the Chena River to serve the gold prospectors that were stampeding to the area. Since then, Fairbanks has grown to serve the gold mining industry, oil industry, University of Alaska, and the curious couple's favorite place in Fairbanks, the Museum of the North. The university also provides forecasts for the aurora borealis, the northern lights. The curious couple stayed in the Heritage House, a bed and breakfast on the National Historic Register, built in 1916 by Arthur Williams, a restaurateur. It was rumored to be a house of ill repute at one time. Watch out for the monster plants. They get as much as 22 hours of daylight, grow quickly and large. The high latitude, 65 degrees north, yields a short growing season of 116 days. That's compared to the growing season in Los Angeles, 34 degrees north, of 270 days, twice as much. The curious couple has always found that altitude and latitude are fundamental to the life, customs, and culture of an area because the natural world shapes our lives. The Museum of the North is a first-rate stop as it gives a great overview of the natural and cultural history of the state. The curious couple spent several hours wandering the exhibits. There are 11 distinct cultures and 22 different language dialects among Native Alaskans. In the 1970s, the Trans-Alaskan Pipeline was built to transport oil from the fields on the North Slope to Valdez, 800 miles south, for tankers to take it to refineries. It continues to supply oil to West Coast refineries. This curious couple researched the history and culture of this diverse and vast state by reading 3 books. Check them out. Denali National Park is the 3rd largest park in the United States. There is only one road into this massive park to protect it from excessive tourism. The curious couple took a short walk and saw a group of doll sheep munching on the grass nearby. The curious couple was fortunate to see the highest mountain in North America at Denali at 20,310 feet in all its glory. Driving to Seward, the curious couple passed some of the most beautiful scenery ever seen. John Muir said Alaska has 1,000 Yosemites, and he was right. The fjords formed by the glaciers and the mountains rising from the sea to the sky are awe-inspiring. The historic trail for the Iditarod sled dog race starts in Seward and continues more than 1,000 miles to Nome. The curious couple checked out the Aeoliac Glacier, which comes out of the Harding ice field, a 700 square mile sheet of ice that feeds numerous glaciers. The glacier is a moving river of ice flowing into the sea, carving the earth below it as it moves. curious couple got back late, but since the sun didn't go down till after midnight, they went on a short hike at the exit glacier, a few miles out of town. Signs mark the extent of the glacier's retreat from about 1815 to present day, and it's truly amazing how much the glacier has shrunk. Miles. A town of about 5,000, Homer is famous for the Spit, a narrow piece of land that extends several miles into Ketchimek Bay. The marina on the Spit hosts a fishing fleet famous for catching halibut. In 1964, an earthquake destroyed the town of Seldovia on the east side of the bay, which burgeoned with fisheries. Most of the businesses and people moved to Homer, which was more accessible. The indigenous inhabitants of the Cook Inlet region are called the Danaina. The Danaina are one of the 11 Athabascan languages that are spoken throughout Alaska. Russian explorers had established themselves in southern Alaska by 1784, but English explorer Captain James Cook is credited with first exploring and describing the Anchorage area in 1778 during his third voyage of discovery.
has about 370 people living there year-round, but the town of Naknek, 16 miles to the east, is the home to a large fishing fleet and several canneries. The curious couple wondered what was there and took a taxi to Naknek. Naknek has about 500 residents, with seasonal surge in fishermen and fishery workers who catch and process the sockeye salmon. The day before the curious couple visited, there were about 1.8 million salmon caught, and 2 boats sank in the last week, with 1 fatality. The boat was grounded on a sandbar, waiting for the incoming tide. A large wave flipped the boat, and the crew was thrown from the boat. The captain died.
Alaska is expensive. The pizzas in this working-class fisherman's town at the end of the world were over $50 delivered. Couple took a seaplane to the Brooks camp, 20 minutes from King Salmon. Salmon were swimming up the river to their birthplace to spawn. This attracts the Alaskan brown bears, grizzlies, who fish for them at Brooks Falls. Bear school to learn how to behave if they encounter a bear around the lodge. The curious couple walked to Brook Falls. The curious couple saw bears walking through the camp. The rangers were on it, keeping the bears and tourists separated. Many people were fishing for salmon, and they had to be on the lookout for bears as well. about Nova Rupta. Have you? Nova Rupta, the largest volcanic eruption in North America in the 20th century, 30 times larger than Mount St. Helens. It happened just a few months before the Titanic went down in 1912, so the media didn't talk about it too much. The Titanic was a much larger story. This epic trip was fantastic, a life changer. The curious couple learned about the people and history of this great expansive state. The curious couple will come back in a few summers.